Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City, Mad Mouth. Glad to have Rick Curti. Welcome back, Rick.
Hey, guys. How are you?
All right, and we have our resident running back, Mel Farr Jr. Good evening, Mel.
Good evening, guys. How's everybody doing?
We're doing all right. Ready to talk some football tonight? After all, it is championship week.
I'm ready.
All right, but before we do that, we're going to talk about some news first. The Detroit Lions have hired Dan Campbell, the assistant head coach of the New Orleans Saints, as well as the tight ends coach. He gets a 6-year deal to try to get the Lions situation right. Mel Farr, some thoughts about the Dan Campbell hiring?
Well, I was surprised when I heard it because he wasn't on my radar. I hadn't heard anybody speak of Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions and putting those two together. Like I said, I think we talked off the air last week. They had a conference call with Chris Spielman, did a Zoom call with some of the older players, guys who played, the former players, and he had assured them that they would see the Lions win a Super Bowl in their lifetime. So I felt pretty good about that. Then the hire, and I was kind of like, but again, I wasn't in any of the interviews, so I don't know how he interviewed with the team. But obviously, I think if you look at the hires that are going on around the league right now, one thing that you notice is that everybody's really going younger. And I think what they're looking for, the Lions, is really looking for a leader of men, not necessarily the next best coordinator, the guy who can draw up plays the best and do all that, because that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a great leader of men, that he's going to be a great head coach. So I'm willing to give the guy, a shot. I mean, what do we have to lose here? I mean, I have no choice really, but and I know he had an opportunity as an interim coach in Miami.
Right.
I believe he went 5-7.
Correct.
And if my memory serves correctly, I think the guys really kind of liked him, and we're kind of pushing for him to get the head gig. But for whatever reason, it's hard sometimes as an interim coach to get that head gig. But I'm willing to give him a try. And like I said, it seemed like they wanted him to be the guy. And maybe he's he's going to be a great leader of men. He got a heck of a contract, a 6-year deal, so he's going to have an opportunity to put his program in place, and we'll see what happens.
Rick?
Yeah, I was kind of like kind of higher, and I was kind of like, oh, wasn't he the interim coach with the Dolphins, and wasn't he like one of these tough as nails kind of guy, and did these hard practices, and I was just kind of like, that's how I feel about it. I think it's okay. We'll see what happens. It's interesting they signed him to a 6-year deal, so they're kind of showing that it's a mess here. So you have time to fix this mess. Well, so, we'll see how it goes. I thought they were going to go with Celia, who's the new coach of the
Saleh, right?
Saleh. I thought he's a Michigan guy. They like the Michigan guys. I've heard a lot of great things about him. He's been on the radar for the last 2 seasons. I thought they would go with him. So I'm kind of a little surprised by Campbell. He just really kind of came out of nowhere, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Robert Saleh, I believe they wanted him, but when New York felt that if he got out of that building, we could have landed the Lions gig. I do believe that. So New York figured we better close the deal. They targeted their guy, and they were able to get Robert Saleh. I actually like the hiring of Dan Campbell. He's been in the game for 20 years. And yes, to back up your point, Mel, the Dolphins players did want him here. So he definitely had the momentum and the endorsement of them, but they decided to go in a different direction. But you know what? It's just as well that he's going back to Detroit, played there. He's got 20 years under his belt, a younger guy, So the only older guy that's been hired is Urban Meyer for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll get into that maybe a little bit later in the broadcast. But, other than that, there's a certain trend going that they're not looking to bring in a lot of retreads, but indeed they're looking to try to get some fresh blood. So I have no problem with the Dan Campbell hiring. The fact that the matter is I do like the 6-year deal, so they're willing to show a commitment toward him. And the Brad Holmes hire, I think you might have a pretty good working relationship between the two guys. All right, well, we'll go from Dan Campbell to Phillip Rivers, who's retired from the National Football League, 17 years. He's had 242 consecutive starts, 8 Pro Bowls, 5th in passing yards all time to 63,440, and 5th all time in touchdowns, 421. Mel, I'll let you lead it off. Is he a Hall of Famer?
It's a great question. Phillip Rivers
I
is.
try to ask great questions, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, he's always going to be tied to Eli Manning because of that trade that happened on draft day, and
Right.
and you look at you look at Phillip's career and you say, well, maybe that's why Archie didn't want Eli to go to San Diego because Phillip has never made it to a Super Bowl, and obviously Eli's gone to 2-1 too.
Right.
So looks like Eli got the better end of that deal. He put up great numbers. There's no question about that. I think he's 5th in yards. I think he's 5th in touchdowns. So when you put up those kind of numbers, you're going to get Hall of Fame consideration, and he's more than likely definitely going to he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Well, that's exactly right. Archie Manning and Eli Manning did orchestrate that trade to go to New York, and they didn't want to be there, so they made the best thing that they could do with the Chargers at the time. Eli goes to New York. You see how that worked out, got a couple Super Bowls. Phillip Rivers had a really good career with the Chargers, and to wrap it up, he went out with the Colts into the playoffs, and he knew it was time to get away. So it was one of those win-win trades for both teams, even though the Giants got the Super Bowls. But why not? If you can trade 2 quarterbacks in the top 5 for one another and they both have outstanding careers, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in football, right, Rick?
Right. Congrats to Phillip Rivers. He's had a great career. To me, this is a no-brainer. Of course, he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. I mean, people are going to say, well, he never won a Super Bowl. Well, Dan Marino didn't win a Super Bowl. Dan Fouts, he didn't even go to a Super Bowl. I compare him to Dan Fouts. And ironically enough, they played for the Chargers. The San Diego Chargers, not the LA Chargers. So to me, he's a Hall of Famer. Will he get in the first ballot? I think probably the second time he'll get around because people are going to throw that whole, part of the whole Eli Manning and look what Eli did. And I mean, they need to stop that. He's a great quarterback. He's up there with touchdowns, yards, everything. He had a long career, successful career. And he's going to the Hall of Fame. To me, it's a no-brainer to me. So, but congrats on his career. He had a really spectacular career. So, and it was funny. I think in his press conference, he said that he was going to retire so him and his wife could start a family. They have 9 kids. So I thought that was kind of funny.
The thing about Phillip Rivers is not only a fine quarterback, a really great quarterback, he's a good person. He really is.
Yeah.
So, you'd like to think that nice people, good people get rewarded well. He's had 9 kids and a fine career. You know what? I'm really happy for him. I hope that he gets whatever he's looking for, that he's really happy. So more power to Phillip Rivers. And like I said, Mel, you mentioned it before, that Eli Manning for Phillip Rivers trade is kind of a win-win for both sides. If Phillip Rivers is a consolation prize, I've seen teams fare a lot worse than that. That's for sure. Not every great quarterback gets to a Super Bowl, or they may get there once, but to have a celebrated career, making a lot of money, doing what you like to do, playing the game you really love. And from what I hear, he's going to be a high school football coach, and that suits him fine. The main thing is get out at the right time so you don't have to have injuries that will ultimately you'll have to deal with down the road. You want to get out of there as healthy as you can. And unfortunately, sometimes guys tend to stay a little bit too long. All right, well, let's continue on here. The NFLPA Executive Director DeMaurice Smith says the upcoming offseason will be virtual again due to COVID-19 pandemic. Probably the worst kept secret on the planet, Rick?
Yeah, they're going to do what they can to get the season in, and I mean, we'll just have to see what happens. We have a new president now, and it seems like he wants to take things more seriously now and really, really attack this. And we just got to get back to normalcy. This is, it's just having games canceled, having teams testing positive for COVID, and people just want to get back to normalcy. So hopefully, 2021 will be a much better season than year than 2020. So it's just going to take time. People need to be patient. Just mask up. People still don't want to wear masks or still want to go party. So people need to, people have to do their part as well. And hopefully we get better distribution with this vaccine. So we just got to get back to normalcy.
Well, the virtual thing worked out pretty well last year, anyways. Everybody thought the virtual thing was going to be a problem with OTAs. You know what? It'll work out again. At some point, they'll go back to OTAs. You never and exhibition games. But right now, it did work out. So if you do it another year, it's not the worst thing that can happen, right, Mel?
No, it's not the worst thing. Worst thing that can happen. They were able to adapt last year, and things worked out okay. I think the tackling wasn't all that great, but tackling has been going down. It's been a lost art for a number of years now. But obviously, they're trying to get into the season, and depending on what happens, how soon and or how quickly we can get this vaccine out, will determine how soon we can get our lives back to normal here.
Very true. All right, well, let's go on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They signed former Washington football team quarterback Dwayne Haskins to a futurist contract. Obviously, the Steelers are reacting and using Haskins as an insurance policy with Ben Roethlisberger, who's 38 years old. So, Mel, how do you think the Dwayne Haskins will mix with Mike Tomlin? If you can't play for Mike Tomlin, there's a big problem. And I'm happy for Dwayne Haskins that he'll get a fresh start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think there's any organization that he could have fared better with than the Pittsburgh Steelers, right, Mel?
Yeah, I mean, God bless Mike Tomlin. Obviously, they think a lot of him to drop this in his lap. I mean, but he's dealt with Le'Veon Bell, and he's dealt with Antonio Brown, and he's also dealt with Ben Roethlisberger, the diva that he is. So he's been able to manage personalities. Hopefully,
Right.
he'll be able to get the best out of this kid. Obviously, I've heard everything I've heard is, the guy's got great arm talent. That's not the issue. It's about getting him to focus and to commit to playing football. And maybe Mike Tomlin will be the one that can reach this kid and help him resurrect his career. But again, a lot of this is up to the kid. Mike Tomlin can only do so much. He can take the horse to water, but he can't make him drink. So
Right.
he can, show him the way to the promised land. But I mean, he's got to buy into it. So hopefully, what he felt in losing his profession and Washington when he lost his job, something that he probably never thought was going to happen. I mean, he's never had to deal with this type of adversity. I mean, he's dealt with some adversity in life, obviously going through college, and he's probably had to deal with some adversity, but nothing like this here. So hopefully he's got a chip on his shoulder and he's willing to go out there and work and put in the work and prove that he can play in this league, because now he's in a different situation now. As a number one draft pick that he was in a position where they give you a lot of time to prove that you can't play.
Right.
When you're a street free agent and you come in, they don't give you too many chances to prove that you can play. You get a few chances to prove that you can play, but you get a whole lot of chances when you're a high draft pick like that to prove that you can't play, because obviously the organization, they don't want to look bad. They don't want to say that they made a mistake. They don't want to own up to the fact that they may have made a mistake.
True. Yeah, so I'm with you all the way. If you can't resurrect your career with Mike Tomlin, shame on you. So I'm happy for Dwayne Haskins. Rick, some thoughts about this?
Yeah, I'm really shocked that some team got him right away. To me, he's another Jamarcus Russell. That's the way I look at him. I think he's just a guy that's not going to learn. He's incredibly immature. He does stupid things. The guy, you just had a horrible loss, and how do you cope with it? You go to a strip club. I mean, it's just like he needs to grow up. And apparently he had these kind of issues also at Ohio State as well. So, I mean, I just don't see it happening. I'm surprised that the Steelers are going to take a chance at him. I know he was visiting the Panthers. I was like, please, Panthers, don't get him. So I don't see much hope with him. To me, just another Jamarcus Russell. He's just a guy that's just not going to grow up. And if he can't make it with the Steelers and listen to Tomlin, he's done in the NFL.
Yeah, no argument there for sure. If you can't make it with Mike Tomlin, shame on him. So I'll give you that one, Rick, for sure. All right, one last news note I want to get to before we talk about a couple of football games. The Jacksonville Jaguars are hiring Darrell Bevell as offensive coordinator. I thought he did a pretty good job as the interim Lions coach. Even though he went 1-4, he had them playing hard and they were very competitive. He'll join Urban Meyer's staff. Well, I enjoyed Darrell Bevell's transcripts coming down from the pipeline up in Detroit. So it'll be neat that he's joining me in Florida anyways. I don't know if I ever get a chance to talk to him about it, but I think that's a pretty good hire for Jacksonville. And Urban Meyer is proving that he's getting some really good proven coaches here. I know Scott Linehan was the guy that they were looking at, but when Darrell Bevell came into the picture, I think this was a good hire to bring in Darrell Bevell as the offensive coordinator. Rick, why don't you lead off with this one, please?
Yeah, I love what Jacksonville's doing. We're being kind of like kind of tough on the Lions about Campbell. I love what Jacksonville's doing. You got to get the big fish, and the big fish is Urban Meyer. He's been wanting to go to the NFL for a long time. Everywhere he goes, he wins. Everywhere. Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, Ohio State, and I think he'll be successful here. He's got a great staff. I know Charlie Strong is joining him as well. Right. I know they got a new GM, Trent Baalke, who was the former GM for the 49ers. I love what Khan's doing. I think he's doing a great job. I like Bevel. He's a big name. He's been around, got experience. And, I'm very happy for I love what Jacksonville's doing and the excitement to get Trevor Lawrence, who's been like this projected prodigy, for the last 2 years, who could be the next Peyton Manning. They'll have a face for their league. So I love everything that Jacksonville's doing. They're doing everything right. Just go after the big fish. And he wants $12 million a year. You give him the $12 million. Why not? So it's a great hire, and I love what Jacksonville's doing.
For some crazy reason or another, and I don't know why, I had a gut feeling that Trent Baalke was going to get that general manager job. But the Jaguars had to obviously go through the hiring process with the Rooney Rule and look at every qualified candidate that there was. So, but I did have a feeling that Trent Baalke was calling the shots during that interim period until now he gets a job full time, and now he's working with Meyer. So I'm with you all the way. I think Baalke hires a home run. I love the Darrell Bevell hiring. And of course, Urban Meyer, like you say, he's won everywhere on the planet anyways. So, Mel, all right, so let's talk about Darrell Bevell, Mel.
I was surprised, actually. I actually thought that he would hire Tom Herman and that he would come with him over there because that was his offensive coordinator at Ohio State before he took the Houston job. So I was kind of surprised by that. But
I'm sorry, Mel, you were cutting out. Who did you mention that you were surprised with the hire?
I thought that Tom Herman. I thought he would
have hired Tom Herman. Okay,
that's what I thought he probably would have hired. But so I was kind of surprised. I'll be honest with you. I was a little bit surprised by it, but I'm not shocked by it. Darrell Bevell. He's him. I never put him and Urban Meyer together, so that's I guess kind of shocking thing about it. But Darrell Bevell, he's about 50, 51 years old. So I mean, he's not extra young. He's not too old. I'm just thinking about what I saw with the Lions offensively. I wasn't impressed. I don't know if that's because of personnel or if that's play calling. I don't know what it is. I guess we'll find out.
I do believe it was personnel, running attack, and remember, as an interim coach, you only inherit what you have. It's not.
But he was offensive coordinator there, though. He was.
I know that he's the offensive coordinator, but he didn't pick the groceries, pal. All he did was just trying to coordinate them. I understand where you're coming from. He's an offensive coordinator for Matt Patricia.
As an offensive coordinator, he has some input on what players make the roster so that he can run his offense.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I often wonder, and this is just my personal opinion, Mel, how much input he had with Beavis and Butthead, a.k.a. Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia there, about how much input you have with that. When you had those two guys, you had two prunes running the show, and all he does is inherit a situation where he had to make the best out of it. So I understand. The Tom Herman one's interesting. I think what it came down to was he wanted an NFL coach over a college coach. And I know there was talk about Scott Linehan, but in the end, I think the Darrell Bevell hire will probably be better anyways. Again, when we're talking an interim guy, Mel, you know this as well as I do, having been around. As Gene Hackman would say in the movie Hoosiers, let's see what hand I've been dealt. That's what you're looking at, Mel. Let's see what hand I've been dealt.
Well, Urban Meyer's always been sort of an innovative kind of guy. I don't see that with Darrell Bevell. I thought he would have had an innovative type of offensive coordinator because he's been kind of innovative everywhere that he's been, and he's more of an offensive kind of a guy as well. So that's why I just thought I was just really, really surprised by that hire. It just Urban Meyer, obviously, he's a great leader of men. Mm-hmm. And that includes, his coaching staff as well. So maybe he'll be able to get, something out of Darrell Bevell that, nobody else has been able to get out of him.
Well, before Bevel was mentioned, Scott Linehan was a possible person as well, but in the end, Daryl Bevel became available. And the only reason why I think he held out long enough is because he was interviewing for the Lions job until they decided on Dan Campbell. That's when Urban Meyer snapped him up. But otherwise, that's why you hadn't heard about him up until now. Remember, these coaching, you talk about head coaching jobs being filled. These assistants and these experienced ones are being snapped up pretty quick, too. And if you're a young coach or first year coach in the league, you want to get as many experienced coaches around you to fill out your staff. And I think that's what you're beginning to see in this wave. So, all right, now that we've talked about the news, let's talk about the two football games and the rematches that have occurred. We're going to lead it off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers. We'll recap their first matchup on Sunday, October 18th, 2020. The Tampa Bay Bucks. We all thought this was the best game of the week. Shame on us. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 38 and the Packers 10. In Tampa, Aaron Rodgers had an awful night, 16 of 35, 160 yards, 2 interceptions, and he got sacked 4 times. And Tom Brady didn't have the greatest statistical night, but was good enough for 17 of 27, 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. So let's talk about the initial matchup, Rick, and then we'll get to the prediction afterwards. And then, Mel, of course, you're going to follow Rick. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought the first game was going to be like this great game, and it was a complete blowout by Tampa Bay. Both teams are just changed dramatically. I had Green Bay as one of these teams that they play really good against the bad teams, but when they play the good teams, they don't do very well. They're on a roll right now. Rodgers is playing out of his mind, and I'll be shocked that he's not the NFL MVP. Brady and the Buccaneers were so, like Jekyll and Hyde. They do really well, and then they would play bad. Brady looked great, and then he looked old. Now he's on a roll. Him and Antonio Brown, Gronkowski getting involved now. They look like they're peaking at the right time. So both teams are peaking at the right time. But it's Lambeau Field. It's cold out there. I know Brady played in New England and went to Michigan, but I can't go against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and I like the Packers in this one.
Give me a score.
I would say 28, 20-21.
Okay. So, Mel, size up the first game. Obviously, we know it was a pretty one-sided 28-point differential at Raymond James Stadium, where it was a whole lot warmer than what we're about to get in Lambeau. So summarize what your interpretation was of the first game between the two squads, Mel, and then we'll get into your prediction.
Yeah, I think everybody thought we were going to see a much better ball game than we saw. And you're looking at Green Bay right now. They're red hot. I mean, they are clicking on all cylinders right now. I mean, the running game, the throwing game, and then defensively with the Smith brothers putting the pressure on the quarterback. They look unbeatable right now. And so if I were, if I wasn't, I've been a Tampa Bay fan since Doug Williams and Ricky Bell and all those guys, when they were playing down there. I've been a Tampa Bay fan for a long time. And, my head says Green Bay, looking at it and look how they've been playing as of late, because they have been playing extremely well. My heart says Tampa Bay, because, I want to see Tom Brady, I want to see Tom Brady do well. I mean, I like what he's done with his career and, and the success that he's had. I'd like to see Bruce Arians have an opportunity to go back to a Super Bowl as a head coach. And you see that, they won decisively. And if you watch the game that they played last week, on third and short, quite a few times they threw a deep ball. And if you and it wasn't complete, it was just a hair too long. There was one to Gronkowski on the up the left sidelines, 4th and 1. First down, second down, and it became third down, 3rd and 1. They're just getting the ball. And it's 3rd and 1, and they throw a bomb, then you had to kick. So if you go 3 and out against Green Bay, and you have too many of those, and you get behind by a few scores, it's going to be very difficult to catch up, because those guys, those Smith brothers, when they pin their ears back and get after the quarterback, they can get after the quarterback. So I think there's some things that Tampa Bay can clean up. Either they got to make those plays, or they just got to be smart and let's just keep the chains moving. 3rd and 1, hey, let's run the football. We got these 2 big old backs back here. Let's run the football. and just keep, as as a Kansas City coach, you said, keep matriculating the ball down the field. Let's just keep moving the ball down the field. Long as Aaron Rodgers is on the bench, he can't hurt us. So what are we in a hurry for? So I'm going to pick Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And, I'm going to pick Tampa Bay. I'm going to pick them to win. I think Tom Brady's motivated. I'm 28-17.
Well, I like the fact that both of you two disagree, so I guess I'm the one who's supposed to break the tie, right?
Right.
This isn't like Congress or anything like that. I mean, breaking the tie doesn't mean you win.
Well,
yeah, I'm not gonna
send you a nasty right. It doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just gonna
right, exactly.
Right. But I gotta break the tie a little bit. So all right, yeah, I don't know what anything's like in Congress, so don't get me going there. But all right, I hear you. But the Green Bay Packers played for this game to get the best record to go to Lambeau Field. That's what they played for. And
Tom Brady can play in the cold. That's not a problem.
I know that. But don't tell me the rest of them can. We know what Tom Brady can do. We know the former Michigan Wolverine did, and he played with the New England Patriots for a lot of years, okay? But the Green Bay Packers played for this moment to host that championship game at Lambeau Field. That's what they played for. Yes, they got blown out in Tampa. Maybe that was a wake-up call that they needed because they were reading too many headlines about how good they were, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers let them know how bad you were. And then again, the Buccaneers can make you look very bad because they have a lot of weapons. And yes, they added Antonio Brown. And if Antonio Brown is a factor in this game, life can be a little bit difficult for the Packers, that's for sure, because he's blended in with Brady as well. But in the end, Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 35-21. Brady has a pretty good game. He's worth 2 or 3 touchdowns one way or the other. But in the end, I believe the Packers are going to win 35-21. So, Rick and I had the Packers. Mel, you have the Buccaneers. And next week, we're going to find out who's right, whether I'm breaking the tie or you're breaking my chops. Something's going to be broken here. So I didn't get into this game here to make predictions. And I don't want people going broke because of what I've got to say. Otherwise, I'll be like the guy in talk radio. There'll be that movie Talk Radio. And I never talked movies before, but it didn't end well for the disc jockey, but we'll get into that for the movie buffers out there. Final game to talk about is bear in mind that first game was in Tampa. They're going to be in Lambeau. The other game we have a rematch was of the Monday night game on October 19, 2020. Kansas City went into Buffalo to win 26-17. Patrick Mahomes, 21 of 26, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the X factor in here was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who had 161 yards. Obviously, they staged shifts over to Arrowhead Stadium. Mel, what's your take on the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills?
Well, we had to see who's going to play quarterback, right? Patrick Mahomes. Now, we all know Patrick Mahomes. He's probably he could see 3 people, but if they ask him, he's fine. But he might be seeing double, quadruple, whatever. But I know he's going to do whatever he needs to do to get through the protocol to play. I really didn't see where he got. The funny thing about that play is I really didn't. I've looked at it. I can't tell you how many different times I've looked at that play. I really didn't see where he got his head banged so hard where it would cause him to be concussed in the manner in which he was. You get up and you're unsteady. Usually that's from a big hit, and I just didn't see the hit. And I guess Andy Reid having them doing that speed option, obviously he probably won't be doing that anymore. So, as long as Patrick Mahomes is out there, I don't see the Buffalo Bills as great as the season that they've had.
Right.
They don't have what it takes to be able to keep up with Kansas City. And so I see, as long as Patrick Mahomes comes out there and he's himself and he's, seeing single vision and he's, seeing one person, I pick the Chiefs to win. I think they'll win big. They'll win probably like 35-17.
Yeah, I was watching that hit. It looked like the impact of the hit mainly occurred when his head was hitting the ground right off the leg.
His head didn't hit the ground. His head never hit the ground. It kind of hit the other guy's helmet a little bit and looked like he might have got choked out a little bit, but I really didn't see a definite impact on his head like you would normally see when when somebody gets up like that.
Well, let's consider it this way. It was a very low collision, and it's a headache that Tylenol wasn't getting rid of, obviously. So, and of course, if they need another quarterback, they'll just go to the University of Michigan and get it. And Chad Henne, who
He ain't gonna do it
badly either. So just had to throw the Michigan reference out there.
That's fine, but I mean, Chad Henne is not gonna get him to the promised land.
I'm kidding with you. I'm kidding with you. I am kidding with you. Once upon a time, a guy by the name of Drew Bledsoe did go to the, won the AFC Championship game when Brady was hurt, and then Brady finished the job. But that'll be for another show. Rick, what's your take on the Kansas City Chiefs Buffalo Bills?
Well, I think it'll be a pretty tight game in the first half. I think Kansas City will run away with it. I think Kansas City will win like 37-21. Buffalo's had a great year. They've made a lot of progress, a lot of strides, but I think this is Kansas City's year. To me, their offense is explosive, and Mahomes, I mean, he can have double, triple vision. He can have one leg, one arm. The man's incredible. And so, I mean, he's going to play, and it doesn't matter. He's going to play. So, and they're in Kansas City, and I just, they want to prove to everybody that this wasn't a fluke, that they won the Super Bowl, and they want to make it back to back. And like I said, I think it'll be like 37-21, and I think they'll win it in the second half. I think it'll be close in the first half, and then the second half they'll run away with it. So that's my prediction, and Mahomes will have a big game.
Yeah, I got the game going 29-20 in favor of Kansas City. I think maybe the weather might keep it a little bit closer, but it's better than 7-8 points. So I would say a 9-point win for Kansas City. And I guess what it comes down to is Rick and I are basically picking Kansas City and Green Bay in the Super Bowl. Well, Mel, it looks like you're looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs, pretty much.
Yes, sir. I'm on an island.
Well, there you go. Well, you know what? We get to talk about this again next week and see who's eating crow. I don't know about that. I hate eating crow, but when it comes to making predictions, I usually don't have a lot to say about it. But meanwhile, a good broadcast tonight. So let's go ahead and as we get ready for championship weekend, Mel, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, all the different social media, the things that our ex-president can't use: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram at Mel Farr Jr. And my email address is melfarrjr@gmail.com. It's melfarrjr@gmail.com. And then you can follow what we have going on in Detroit and here in Atlanta for the youth at melfarr.org.
Rick, go ahead.
You can contact me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. Our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at Charlotte MLB. We're also on there at Charlotte Bats Baseball. We're also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. We're also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti. And you can contact me on any of those social media websites.
Very good. In terms of getting a hold of us, you can do so on Twitter at Tribune South. It's at Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune, Get It Done. Our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. This is where this broadcast will be visually. So once again, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. What you'll find on there is you'll find our media distribution partners. We have columnists as well as all the broadcasts are on there. A very good website. My wife, Candy, does a wonderful job keeping it together day in and day out. She works really tirelessly to keep it as current as possible. Now, obviously, you can find the broadcast. We obtained the rights to the WSFT network, so that's where this broadcast will be under. Will be that drop down as well. So the WSFT network. Now, the shows that we're going to be running from this day forward will be No Limits, which is our national broadcast, which is non-sports related material. We have the South Florida Tribune podcast, which is a local one area, and of course the sports that you're listening to as well. Our email address is southfloridatribune@gmail.com. You can reach us on LinkedIn. Myself at LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth. If you want to hear the audio version of the broadcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. So, Rick, why don't you give everybody the COVID message, please? Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, right now, I think we're at over 400,000 deaths. The the good news that we have a new administration that looks like they're going to be taking this more seriously than the previous one. I just tell people, again, mask up, stay safe. I know it stinks. There's a lot of things I wanted to go do, especially in South Carolina. Things are a little looser there. But at the same time, my health is more important than anything else. But you just got to wear your mask, social distance, stay away from crowds. We're almost there. We're waiting for vaccines to come, and it's just important. It's like I said, it stinks, but I feel very, very confident that this year we're going to get back to some type of normalcy. I miss going to baseball games. We got a lot of new teams here in North Carolina I want to go see, and hopefully I will this year, and I'm confident that I will. But during that time, you just got to mask up, be safe, and just watch out for everyone else.
I should point out that Rick does a really fine job helping the South Florida Tribune with our social media department, making sure that all the content is distributed properly. So, Rick, for that, we always are thankful that you help us as well. So, meanwhile, guys, really enjoyed the broadcast, and I had some news in there. We'll see how our predictions play out next week, because obviously next week will be our Super Bowl predictions as well. So, we'll get to championship week and go from there. But meanwhile, guys, once again, fine job this evening, and I'll be curious to see whether it'll be Tampa. I'll be thinking of you if Tampa does win this thing, Mel. Otherwise, I'm looking for the old convention Super Bowl with Green Bay and Kansas City. Probably something that a lot of people would like to see. But you know what? By the time we hit the air next Thursday night, we'll have a pretty good idea what direction we're going in. So, meanwhile, on behalf of Mel Farr Jr. and Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morganroth of Motor City Manmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange, and we will catch you another night. Take care, everybody, and good evening.